And welcome to the Hustlers Huddle, a networking podcast about who?
I think it's about you.
You.
My bad. Oh yeah. Okay. There we go.
Oh, everybody pointed to everybody pointed to Kristen except for Chris.
Hey,
who's like,
it's about everybody. We're inclusive here. It's about you too.
Okay.
But yes, we do have Kristen with us here today.
That's a good band, though, by the way. You too.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
nice,
they're all right.
nice,
I mean,
contemporary sound on that.
Stadium rock a little bit. Nice, reminds you of nice 1997, right?
I mean, they were big in the 2000s. Is that a
80s.
Well, so to your point, and to your
90s.
point, they've spanned the generations. I mean, it's pretty cool. So,
Transcend.
There.
So
Producer PJ coming in with the words.
we've
What to say?
already started off with a tailspin today. Hey, PJ, why don't you introduce yourself for us?
This is PJ. I'm the producer here of the Hustlers Huddle.
French, I like it.
Thank you for coming in and being here. And you can reach us at thehustlershuddle.com at gmail.com.
At facebook.com, at
all of
twitter.com,
Absolutely everything. Instagram.
instagram.com.
At the Hustlers Huddle, and on Twitter as well.
You
and
can-
YouTube.
The quickest way is to find us on google.com and then type in the Hustlers, right?
If only there was a website that could find anything and everything for us in the entire history of the world. That would be amazing.
And to my right, I have...
What's happening, guys? Chris Correa with you guys always, or like always, rather, here at the Hustlers Huddle. We are happy to have our guest with us. Got some really, really cool things to talk about today.
Oh, absolutely.
Excited, obviously, about the standard kind of Hustlers Huddle that we're bringing. But today we got a little extra surprise. Bringing in some four-legged friends.
Yeah, we'll
talk about that a little bit. All right,
four-legged.
cool.
Yep. And of course, I am Chris Whitwell, aka Karen. I'd love to speak to your manager.
Always going off on a tangent with this guy.
I'm just saying.
Every single week we got to start off with something different. Chris, can't you ever just introduce and we get into our guest?
I thought about doing Kyle because I learned about it recently, but I didn't have any monster with me.
So for those of you that are not familiar with the Kyle meme, again, if you Google Kyle meme, you will become very, very familiar. And I will tell you, you probably want to get some drywall before you Google.
There's a video game about that I found.
What is that?
All you do is punch walls with like a monster T-shirt on. Somebody made a low-budget game called the Kyle Simulator, and you have to break through walls by punching it.
Moving right along.
Exactly.
It's a top seller of not at all.
Of nothing.
With us today,
Who do we have, Chris?
We have Kristen's like, what did I get myself into?
Right.
We have Kristin Graham here from Supreme Lending. Welcome, Kristin.
Welcome, Kristen.
Hello, everyone.
How are you today?
Doing wonderful, thank you.
Outstanding. So, Kristin, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do for Supreme Lending?
I am a mortgage loan officer. Make that senior mortgage loan officer.
Not
Not by age.
I like that. Definitely not by age. It's senior. It's almost like Scott was the president ninja. You're the senior loan officer. I like that.
I am.
And it's because you've been doing it for, 12 years now? Is that right?
Let's go with 13.
13 years it is.
Like that.
Lucky number 13.
Yes.
Absolutely.
With that said, you have a background in finance as well, correct?
I do. I have a degree from Texas A&M. Whoop.
Whoa, hey.
How,
It must be Aggie night. We didn't even plan that.
Yes, accounting degree, Ernst & Young. I don't know how many years.
So what got you out of that and into mortgage? What was the transition like that?
I decided to buy and sell. So I was selling a home, FSBO, which I don't really recommend.
Okay.
Which for some of those of you that don't know it, that's
I was
for
just going to
sell
say,
by
tell them what that
owner.
means. Okay, cool.
For sell by owner. In that process, I had to help my buyer's lender with some documentation. Was very interested in the process, and I think I copped off and said, "Oh, I could do this."
And then
She
you literally
said-
did.
And she said, "You could come work for me."
Nice.
That's awesome. So you literally went to go work for the lender that you bought your home from?
I did.
Or not
actually.
bought from, but got financed through.
I did. Yeah, she offered me a processing position after I got licensed as a loan officer.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
So for those listening, what's the difference between a loan officer and a processor?
Paycheck.
Yeah, that's a
little bit.
definition right there.
No, but that's a great point, right? Because a lot of times we talk about it on this show. Sometimes you got to, I don't know if it's called pay your dues or whatever, but you've got to learn the business. You got to work your way in, and you may be doing a lot of the same functions relatively, right? That maybe some of your peers are that are getting paid more, but a lot of that comes with experience, time, getting to that place, not just the standard, hey, I want to graduate from college and somebody pay me $100,000 because I'm worth it, right? Kind of deal.
Sure. Yes, exactly.
So how long did it take you as a processor before you became a mortgage officer?
It was really my choice. I pretty much did it for about a year. I was in New Braunfels actually working. The travel became a little too much. My daughter was starting kindergarten, had an opportunity to start working in another office in San Antonio, which made sense. That's where I lived.
Yeah.
So that's basically when I decided to take the one cap off. By the way, we've got lots of caps here.
Hey, you like that?
Feel free to put one on.
I was going to say, I like how you
One
tied that
cap-
in.
One cap on and with the loan officer cap, yeah, took one on, put one off, whatever. You know.
Hey, I got you. Took one off, put one on.
Cap change.
Yeah.
Well, and so I know a little bit of what you do outside of the loan officer. So you wear a lot of caps,
Yeah.
not just a processor, loan officer kind of thing. It's you're out there in the world doing all kinds of different stuff, yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I have a very passionate hobby, if you will. It's my rescue pups.
I'd love to talk about that here in a minute, but first, I know that your family is very dear to you. Tell us about your pride and joy, Miss Jenna.
My mini me.
Your mini me,
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
absolutely.
Jenna is she's a senior this year. I don't know, she's a senior, so let's just put it there.
Yeah.
She's 17 years old and thinks knows it all.
Of course. Hey, my daughter's 4, and she thinks she knows it all.
Right. And okay, so that's exactly how Jenna started out. So beware.
I wish everybody continues to tell me this. I really wish you wouldn't have said that, but I joke. I'm like, my daughter's 4 going on 16. Come on, it's ridiculous.
It's true.
So if I were to take a survey around the room real quick, PJ, how high do you think you could jump?
Ooh,
Like, literally, could you jump a small human?
couple, 2-3 feet. Yeah.
2-3 feet.
It
like
depends on
clear,
how
without-
small that human is.
If I put a bar, you 2-3 feet, you wouldn't hit the bar,
I
right?
could jump over it.
Okay.
I work out.
How about I work out? I don't know if you've seen this lately, but I work
PJ's all,
out.
I'm not on camera, but I'll get on camera here in a second so y'all can see.
How about yourself, Chris? What do you think?
Oh man, it's been a long time. It depends on the kind of jump, and depends on what you're doing. Like PJ's point, a vertical is different than.
Give me any kind of jump.
So
Best kind you can clear.
the highest I've ever cleared, I actually did high jump
really?
in high school, and I did 6'4" was the highest I could ever clear, which is about 5 inches taller than me at the time.
That's insane.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's insane, but it's not good enough to get you to the next level. I mean, if you're going to be
For
good
the male,
at
for the male side of it, yeah.
Yep, you're talking 6'10", and above and stuff. So
Yeah.
these guys are ridiculous. They're jumping not small humans. They're jumping large humans.
Yeah. I'd have a hard time getting over a curb.
I was going to say, what about you? You
I don't.
limbo? It's
yeah,
more you go
pretty
under?
much. I go under. I like slide under and get asphalt all over myself in the process.
So
But
what's the buildup? What are we doing?
what's really cool is Jenna at 16 last year was competing. She was a high jumper.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And she cleared what was the top?
5'4".
5'4", which put her in pretty big contingent for
Fourth in regionals.
fourth in
That's awesome.
regionals. That's awesome. And we have it. It's marked. I've been in Kristin's office. You know what? Little preference. We work together, so I know people will do their research and call us out and everything like that. So I'm just gonna throw it out there. We work together.
Full disclaimer, please read it at the beginning of the
Yeah,
show.
absolutely. But we have it marked in the office how high she jumped, and it's insane to me to think that a human being can clear that, let alone somebody that's in high school that's developing still and learning all this. And she took great strides to get to that height, right?
Yes.
How long has she been jumping?
Probably 8th grade.
Okay, cool. Does she do any other events in track, or is she primarily in field events?
Only high jump.
Only high jump. So she's a specialist.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. So you mentioned regionals. She took 4th, I think you said.
Yes.
What region is that?
That's our region.
Well, but I mean here in San Antonio, right?
Oh, 6A.
yeah,
That's what I was trying to. Yeah. So to give some context,
Yes,
right?
yes,
It's 6A in San Antonio. If you're competing in these regions, these are not your local CYO track meet, right? Like
Right.
these are
Yeah.
high level athletes, top notch, really, really focused on what they're doing, and a lot of them actually go on to D1 colleges.
Right.
A lot of them go on after that even into amateur athletics, into Olympics, things like that. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's her goal. She hopes to be picked up for a scholarship coming soon.
Is she going
Coming
to
soon.
coming
College.
soon to a theater near you?
Does she have eyes on anywhere? Where's she shooting?
Doesn't right now.
Okay,
She's putting
cool.
together videos and stuff. So it's
Are,
fun.
are you hoping A&M?
Well,
Woo.
absolutely.
A little bit, right?
So with your rescue, what's that about?
Rescue.
Okay.
Could be a lot of things.
Right.
Yes.
Chris.
So
tell us
let's
See,
about
get
I
more
rescue,
specific.
How did you get into rescue?
I rescue mortgage loans. I rescue mortgage.
I am a rescuer of many hats. We
Yes.
already talked about the many
Yes,
hats. It just depends on the
absolutely.
one she's wearing that day, right?
Right. So for me, we'll just go back about 7 years ago. Jenna was 10. Social media was really becoming a big thing back then.
Mhm.
So that's when we really, myself personally, I didn't realize the overpopulated strays that we have in San Antonio and
yeah.
how much need a foster parent is needed here in San Antonio for the rescue groups. There's a lot of local nonprofit rescue groups here in San Antonio that are out there hitting the streets. They need people like myself and my family. We've been doing this for 7 years.
Wow.
So 150 plus dogs.
Personally.
That you personally fostered.
Yes.
That is awesome.
Wow.
Yes.
So what does that foster program look like? Like for somebody that's hearing this and saying, hey, how can I get in on this? What does that look like? What is somebody that fosters a dog? What do they need to know? What do they need to do?
Sure. I say open up your heart and your home. It's really as simple as that. The rescue organizations typically offer all of the assistance from food, crates.
That's awesome. So they're just
Bedding.
literally looking for somebody to help out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Little time.
That's interesting. Were you a dog person prior to this? Did you own dogs? Did you have?
I
any
was
of your own?
absolutely a dog person. I'm an animal person. I wanted to be a vet, but I didn't do that. I ended up becoming an accountant. So now I do both.
Those seem so polar opposite. Just putting it out there, an accountant and a vet, you know,
But she's able through rescuing loans
to be able to fulfill that
to
side.
fulfill the other side of it
Yeah.
and not have to necessarily do it for a profession and a passion. She
Well,
can separate the two.
And that actually allows you to have that passion because at that point it really is a passion.
Yeah.
You're not concerned about, okay, what's my overhead to keep the lights on in this sense. And to your point, they give you most of the stuff anyway. So it's really about you just kind of donating your heart and your time and really opening your home to these animals.
Absolutely. It's it's really. I go back. I look back at the time. I was really just starting out as a loan officer 7 years ago. Started the foster program. We rescued our first foster. Went through the meeting of a couple of different adoptive parents. Something didn't quite fit with that parent, and Vera actually ended up becoming our dog. So we ended up adopting our first foster.
Okay.
From there, we, of course, continued to foster. I fostered a couple of dogs that my dad ended up adopting, which was fun. So I get to see those dogs.
That's cool. So they get to still be kind of in the family.
Right, absolutely. The thing with fostering that a lot of people ask me is, how can you do it? I mean, how do you not get attached? Well,
Right.
you get attached.
Who is this we're looking at right here?
Well, this is my current foster, Andy, or
Oh.
Happy Hopper.
Happy Hopper.
When he, okay, so I don't know if y'all can see that, but he's got a very swollen abdomen.
Yeah.
So
that's
this
a
is
good
right
picture
here is what
there.
you're talking.
Yes. So this poor little fella is not quite, he's right around a year old. Of course, when they're strays, we don't have their exact birth date, right?
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah.
So he's a little guy, he's just a pup, but unfortunately for him, originally he tested positive for heartworms. That's why the initial vetting that took place was, let's get rid of these heartworms. So they went through this would be an advanced stage, by the way, of heartworms.
Okay.
And can I break in real quick
Yes.
because I don't think people understand how severe heartworms can be for dogs. We all think, yeah, I have a dog, yeah, I'll give it the heartworm pill when I think about it. I feel like that's half of the population doesn't see the necessity to make sure that heartworm prevention is in place. Reason being is it could end up like this.
Absolutely. And it's obviously
I
death.
can. I mean, they do.
They do,
No,
yeah.
You know,
Right,
I mean,
right. And it's, what is a heartworm pill? Maybe $7 to $10 a
Right.
month?
yeah, something like that. Yeah, absolutely.
And for treatment, you're looking at anywhere from $300 to $500.
Mhm.
So ultimately, not only that, the health of your dog.
I mean, it's like a lot of things, right? Like it's even like in human medicine, all of the companies are now shifting towards preventative
Right.
because it makes a lot more sense. You can be healthy and
Yes.
then not come out of pocket all of this money at once.
Right.
$7 a month saves you 500 in the long run and gives your animal a much better quality of life.
Right.
It seems like a win, no-brainer all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So, sorry to interrupt. Continue.
No, you're good. You're good. So this poor little fellow was originally started with treating him. They drained some of the fluid, which his heart's not pumping properly. So that's why his abdomen is filling up with fluid. It didn't seem to be reducing in size, so checking in with the vet at SNPSA said, let's go in for further tests. And that's where that second picture, we're doing EKGs, we're doing echocardiograms on this little guy. I mean, he was such a
full-on
trooper.
operation.
Well, pretty much having to lay on his
That's not-
side.
Pull back.
That's good.
you
Having
go.
to lay on his side. This was just the EKG right here, the echocardiogram. I mean, for almost 20 minutes, they're doing almost a sonogram of the heart. I was very, very fortunate to be able to be in. So here's where the vet side of my
Absolutely.
passion. I get to be, in the room, literally with these dogs, and I get to expand on that piece of my life that I didn't venture into as an Aggie.
Well, I was going to say, it seems like you're pretty well ventured into it. You know?
I just wanted to say like thank you for that. Like
Absolutely.
Like that's to be able to foster that many dogs. Like just that's
150
a big thank you.
over
I'm
7
a big
years.
dog fan. I think we all are.
Mhm.
You know, and
Absolutely. And you found, out of the 150, you found homes for 150, right?
Minus 6.
Minus the one you kept in the other.
Minus 5. I think it's 5. Yes.
Okay.
and this is all through
Which-
this particular organization.
Yeah,
right?
so SNPSA, again, there's several in San Antonio. SNPSA.
Please tell us the ones that you actually do a lot of work with. Like shout out to
SNPSA is
them.
one, absolutely. So SNPSA stands for Spay, Neuter, Inject, Protect San Antonio. SNPSA is one of my favorites because they go into our neighborhoods, and the spay neuter portion of their name is they literally do what they call big fixes.
Mhm.
So about once a quarter, they go into the neighborhoods where, oh, yep, there it is. They go into the neighborhoods that are highly populated with the strays.
Absolutely.
The city basically is saying, this zip code right here, we're picking up strays all day,
All
every
nonstop.
day.
Yep, they've got all the data.
Right. So they go into those neighborhoods. They do a free spay and neuter clinic, like I said, and it's like a MASH style. It's really incredible. If anybody ever wants to really get involved in a very organized chaos,
Yeah.
we're talking 300 spay and neuter surgeries,
That's awesome.
cats and dogs, people coming in from the neighborhoods. They have to, sign up, but
Sure.
it's a free service.
You know, and all too often, I don't think people recognize the importance of spaying and neutering your pets.
Oh, my
right? It's like,
goodness, yeah.
oh, I want little puppies running around. No, you don't. You have no clue the work, the time, the effort.
Right.
Like, and to your point, the fact that we're in a city, particularly where there's a lot of them already out there. You know,
Mhm.
it's all about kind of being able to leverage that relationship that you have with these organizations and get those dogs off the street. We don't need more puppies out there.
It's true. Yeah, it's a problem. Unfortunately, it's everywhere. Some of our fosters just come straight off the street in my front, off my front yard.
Literally, there's like a colony of cats, right? That you round it up. And I didn't know this, but I learned something about when they, is it spade and neutering for cats too? I don't know. I'm learning to be
Yeah.
a cat person.
Yes, it's true.
Right. So I didn't know if it had a different term
It's
for
called trap, neuter, release.
Trap,
if
neuter,
you're
release,
talking
okay.
about ferals.
So with that, I didn't realize. Tell us about the clipping of the ear.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Because I'm a,
So
little
if
slow.
you have a cat that cannot be caught because it's feral or wild, they will trap them. We actually trapped 7 cats when we moved into our neighborhood. There were
Awesome.
cats already, basically, we moved into their home. Let's just put it that way. And I noticed that, yes, the neighbors were feeding them, but they weren't fixed.
Right. So
How do
those
you-
7 cats were going to quickly turn into.
Right, 14,
Yeah.
21,
And
exactly.
they tell 2 friends. And then they tell 2 friends.
Right, exactly. So we went to a trap and neuter release class through the San Antonio Feral Cat Coalition. They hold them at the Humane Society.
Mm.
So Jen and I jumped in the car. We took, I think, maybe an hour and a half. Because with that little certification, we got to, they donated traps for us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So it sounds
And-
like there's a lot of organizations that are willing to give people the resources. You just have to be willing to put in the time and
Right,
effort.
absolutely.
I
And
think-
then, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the most scarce resource that there is humans to help.
100%. Yeah, and the time people want to give them
And
themselves.
money, of course, too,
Right.
is a big,
And
big
the
portion of it.
programs, so Humane Society, what was it, $14 to spay, neuter,
Wow.
Oh, that's fantastic.
rabies, the whole nine. I mean, they didn't chip them, of course, but they do clip their right ear. So basically, anytime you see a cat that's got just a notch off of the ear, and it's the right ear, they have been fixed.
We woke up one morning to all kinds of noise in our garage. And I went downstairs, and we had a stray cat that decided to give birth to 6 kittens in my garage.
Oh, wow.
And it was on one of these, this is years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, it was one of these freeze nights. So they were, super cold. They were in the garage. We kept them, I think, how old did they have to be to get spayed? Like 6 weeks or something?
It's actually by pounds for cats.
Okay, so
2 pounds.
we kept them long enough just to get them spayed or neutered. We had a vet that was our family vet that was willing to work with us, and he understood the situation. Then through him, we were able to get a couple adopted out. Through some friends and families, we got 2 others adopted, and then we ended up with 2 cats that I now have in my house because of that. But I didn't know that either about the clipping. He had mentioned that, and I was like, that's good to know. You bring them in, get them spayed. At least it's not saving necessarily their life, so to speak, but it's preventing others from getting into that.
And I didn't realize this. I've seen both happen with the dog side of things. I don't know if this is new, but they tattoo them now when
I
they're
haven't seen
spayed or
that.
neuter. And so when if you can pull out on the photos real quick and then just go to the gallery, I want to show, because of Kristin, I have 2 beautiful little pups at home. That if we
Oh, those
right
2, they're about to drop the hottest album of
hottest
2019.
EP.
Check them out.
It's Cooper and Lily here, and I have them straight up because Kristin, one day we're at the office and she walks in and she goes, "Look at this dog," and I looked at the pictures. I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And she's like, "Their time is up. We gotta go get him right now. Him
That's
or her."
awesome.
Chris, let's explain why I did that.
Let's
Because you
explain.
needed a house first, right?
Yes,
Mm.
yes.
You had just closed on your house, and I
Right.
did not waste any time.
You did not. You were like, "Hey, so you just signed. Welcome, congratulations."
She found
No, no.
She found parents.
I was just going to say, not
She
only
found
that,
parents.
she rescued a mortgage, right? Was able to
Right.
get that, and then rescued some dogs with them. We're tying it all together,
So
full circle.
This is almost set up too perfectly. It would be almost like you maybe created an organization of yourself or a little hashtag
What do they
going
call
on.
that?
What would that be called by chance?
A brand?
Your brand? What is the brand?
It's called Mortgage Mutt.
Oh,
Hashtag
there we
Mortgage
go.
Mutt.
PJ, do we have that pic? Can you bring that up?
So,
go ahead.
Mortgage Mutts is very involved in not only helping dogs find homes, but helping humans find homes for dogs or
Humans.
yeah, and humans, right? Same order that I took. We went and picked up the pups from there right after I got into a house, and it was a great find. As PJ's looking for it, it's okay. We'll
No worries. So while we're talking about that, so I know that I was fortunate enough to join you guys last year
Yes.
for
Yep.
something
That was
that was incredibly fun, great event, also very beneficial. Why don't you talk about that a little bit? What's coming up?
Yes, so every year, the 4th Saturday of September, SNPSA holds their annual fundraiser, which is a 5K, and they call it Race for the Rescues.
It's awesome.
It's a really fun race. It starts over at the Alamo Heights swimming pool, and basically I walk.
I was going to say, run is a
Or
loose
you
term.
can
You
race.
just show up and do whatever
Yeah.
you'd like. Yep, exactly.
There is a competition. If you choose, you can certainly compete.
And there were plenty of those people out there when we went. That
Yes.
wasn't our group, but
No,
they were out
absolutely
there.
not. And you can compete with a dog. You can compete without a dog. So it's great. It's a fun event. Like I said, of course, it's my passion. I want to give back to the community. That's really where this started from. Not just with Vera and helping with the foster. And I realized once I started fostering.
There's little Andy. And that's who we're walking for this go around. We have
Yes.
a team set up in which how's it work? As we sign up for the team, that money is to help with the treatment for Andy and his heart, and
Yes.
as well as some other things probably for SNPSA.
Right. Well, right. So obviously, again, this is their fundraiser. So
Right.
there are costs naturally in vetting. So even from as simple as a rabies shot to a chip, I mean, we're talking $25, $50 for a medical dog like Andy. that can run up, $1,000 or more.
Easy, yeah.
Especially with echocardiograms. We're talking specialists that are
Right.
actually working on this dog, which is, again, really amazing that a rescue is going to take the time and the effort to help this dog become better. And through that, it's through donations, obviously. Otherwise, they cannot continue to function and save other dogs, just like Andy.
No, I was just thinking that. So not even it is amazing, obviously, but it's also amazing that they're using echocardiograms and this kind of technology that I thought was typically reserved for humans, right? Now we're actually bringing it in to be able to help
Right.
rescues as well.
Absolutely.
That's
It was
fantastic.
incredible just to watch that whole. I mean, they called it in. It was some remote thing. Some guy is, on the other end, up in Austin, I think, helping capture these images and these videos, so that a specialist
Technology,
can read
huh?
it. Yeah, you don't have to go to an actual specialist like we would.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that was very interesting. But yeah, so again, that's where it stems from. So mortgage mutts, getting back to that a little bit, is the passion of being able to do helping people with their homes, as well as helping dogs get into homes. I realized back then, and at one point, I was like, oh, I'm just doing dogs. I love this. This is
Right.
I'm going to all dogs. I'm going to do rescue, and then I realized, well, you know what? That doesn't really feed a family.
Right.
So switched gears and thought, I really need both. I need one balances the other. How can I give back? So I work harder. I work harder at my mortgage business. I have the opportunity to give back. It just kind of fulfills that place.
As somebody says in the office quite often, that's your why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's nothing that really feels like giving back, to kind of get that fulfillment or feeling rather, and then for you to be able to get this regularly, having found your passion in over 150 different cases, and then not even that, because I mean, even like just being here today, just talking to people, just getting it out there, you're indirectly affecting so many other people just because of what your passion is, and you can tell it's contagious. You know,
Right.
I mean, obviously, right? The 150 plus two
Plus
that
two.
we know about,
Call it
so-
152 now.
That's exactly right. So how do people help, Kristin? How do they get in contact with you if they want to sign up for the race? What do you recommend? What's the best way?
Yeah, so a couple of things. There is a Facebook event set up right now. It's Team Mortgage Mutts. I think in SNPs are Race for the Rescues. But if you look up Team Mortgage Mutts, I think if you even Google hashtag Mortgage Mutts, there'll be several things that'll come up.
Yeah.
You can definitely go to snipsa.org.
Okay.
And look for the race there, do their sign up there.
And you guys, we had the SNPSA website up on a little bit earlier, so you guys saw that. It was very very easy to navigate.
Yeah,
the race is up there.
It's very easy, and because the race is in 9 days. What is
Yeah,
it?
it's not this Saturday. It's the following
The following
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah, so obviously it should be probably on their homepage.
Right.
So easy to get to, but I'm asking if you would just join the group. There is a drop down, so once you start your registration, you're going to join the group for Team Mortgage Mutts. And if you would like to also donate, there's an opportunity to donate. I ask that you put in other Mortgage Mutts for Andy, so that SNPSA knows that those
Right.
donations are
Are
going
going for Andy.
for Andy.
Awesome.
And we're definitely, we would love to see you guys out there. We'd love to meet our listeners
Absolutely.
and our viewers, because we will be out there.
Definitely.
We are not only going on this 5K, but we're donating as well for Andy.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
look forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. It was last year. This year I'm about 30 pounds lighter, so maybe I'll take 2 steps
Hey,
and run.
Chris, just
and then walk
tossing
the
that
rest.
in there, just in case you guys didn't know.
Hey, PJ, I work out too.
Yeah. Exactly. No, we're super
Y'all don't
excited.
want me to get involved in that, do you?
No. We
no,
ready. So
like-
we're gonna save that, I think, for another episode.
That's right.
So real
'Cause you're
quickly
doing
though,
some awesome things.
what's
with
your
that.
new hobby? What did I hear you're getting into?
I just work out. That's all.
That's
Okay,
it.
all right, we'll
now.
leave it at
We're
that.
not-
We'll
we're
leave it
not-
at that.
we're not pulling back that curtain yet.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Who are we looking at right here? That's obviously Andy. What was the last photo that we had?
Let me see. Oh, that's my dog. That's
That's
Valentina.
his, and
She's a
then-
rescue as well.
She's a pretty girl.
Thank you.
And that's Gigi.
That's Gigi.
So
Who's
what's Gigi's story?
Gigi is an amazingly smart, energetic dog. She actually was vetted. I don't want to say vetted, but I guess
No pun
now that
intended.
we're putting
Put 'em.
right. We had her with the search and rescue team because she had such high ball drive. It was really, really fun to experience that. This dog will do anything for a ball. And we have local search and rescue teams right here in San Antonio that they actually go into our shelters. I get goosebumps. They find dogs that they turn into dogs that are
Incredible.
out there that are looking for, people that, of course, maybe are in rubble or
Any
other.
kind of search and rescue situation.
Right.
Yeah, so it's really, really fun to watch those teams. They actually were at the Snipster race last year doing some demonstrations.
Oh, you know what? I
that.
remember. Yeah. I was just
they're
gonna say. I
called
remember seeing
Task
that.
Force One, and I believe they will probably be out there again this year. At least I hope so.
Awesome.
And so GG is KG, there's PJ, there's GG.
Yeah, exactly.
Gigi's looking for a home right now.
Yes,
permanent home.
Gigi needs a home. We love having her at our house. She's teaching us a lot, which is just, she loves life. She loves people. Not all dogs love her. That's the problem. She's so high energy that some dogs just don't, and they don't enjoy that.
She's a little bit much, huh?
Yes.
That's all right.
exactly.
So she needs a owner that is high energy and is going to give her
Yeah,
lots of walks.
absolutely.
And
See that
Yeah.
picture on the right? That's our last year.
oh yeah, there
Go
we go.
click that bad boy right there. There's Kristin too. Look at her holding up the keys.
Oh, look, there's that crew from last year.
Yay.
Yay! My hair was much shorter.
Yep. And then,
Oh yeah.
then we got your husband directly behind you, right in the centerpiece.
Yep.
That's
Got
Chet.
Charlie girl.
Girl, right? You can bring your dogs to this. It's recommended. I'll have mine out there. You bring them,
Absolutely.
Valentina?
You know it.
Awesome. So come out with us. Do the 5K. Donate. If you can't make it, donate.
It's a great cause, guys.
Exactly. If you're looking for an energetic, smart bundle of joy,
Yes.
give you a little idea of what this dog could be good at. My parents had a very energetic job.
You got this, bro. You got this.
Hold on, let me. All right. My parents had an energetic dog. Nailed it. And my dad is he's handicapped. And so he can't pick things up very easily. And they very quickly found out how smart this dog was. And they started putting tasks. And he loved tasks. He was a working dog. He always wanted to work. And they taught him to do things, simple things like taking in the paper, but also if he dropped the remote control,
He'd pick it up.
Beamer was his name, would pick it up because I always wanted a BMW. And Beamer would pick it up and give it to him. Or my dad, when he's disrobing at night on the bed, he'd drop it on the floor. Beamer would pick it up and go put it in the laundry basket.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
And things like that. So these energetic dogs are looking for work and they're looking for something to do. And maybe somebody that needs that assistance, it would be a great home.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
thank you, Chris.
So if we're looking to adopt Gigi, or if we're looking to foster or get more information about the race, or hey, Kristin, I hear mortgage rates are great right now and I need to refinance or maybe purchase. How do we get a hold of you for all this stuff?
You can visit my website at Mortgage Pro Kristin.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, hashtag Mortgage Mutts. I think several pictures will come up. I'm on Instagram, Mortgage Mutts Mom.
And so
Mortgage
obviously
Mutts
you
Mom,
guys know
yeah.
we'll link everything as well. So from our side, we'll have all of your info. It will be contained in the video as well. And then we'll make sure that maybe we can get Gigi up on our Instagram
sure.
and get her out there in front of some people as well.
Sure, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or snipsa.org, again, is going to offer, drop-down boxes for volunteering, for fostering, obviously adoption. They've got their adoptables on their page, which I guess it's not up anymore. But yeah, go find it. Go look at it.
Awesome. And here it is, guys. So check it out. It's actually really, really easy. You guys can see, just like Kristin mentioned, all of the drop downs, everything. If you click on it, it will take you exactly to where you need. This is the big race that you're looking at here. So we hope to see you guys out there next Saturday. And if you can, please, please, please donate more than anything, your time, your home, open your heart. They need all of the volunteers and all the help they can get, but money doesn't hurt either. We can use
Right.
that as well.
Exactly.
So whatever you are willing to or capable of, please make sure that you are able to get out there and do something.
I'm gonna put Kristin on the spot real quick to lead off to sending her out. Just to show you talked about you worked harder to be able to do all these things, and you focus more on that mortgage to provide more opportunity and so forth. She's working around the clock, guys. I'll get emails at midnight like, go to bed. Why am I up looking at emails? But go to bed. She's always working. And with that said, I do understand that you have a client call coming up in probably about 15, 20 minutes. You need to get in front of a computer. So we'll let you get out of here. We appreciate you being here in the first place. We're excited to have some viewers. that come out, listeners come out and hang out with us at the 5K next weekend.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Kristin, coming out. We very much appreciate what you do.
you.
Obviously, the dogs in the community of San Antonio, we all benefit from that. It's not just our four-legged friends. Everybody can benefit from it. So we
Right.
very much appreciate that.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it as well.
Absolutely. We look forward to having you back.
Okay.
Thanks,
All right,
Kristin.
thank you, ma'am.
We're going to hear about those new hobbies.
PJ will help you out.
All right,
All
guys.
right, man. Well, that was informative. I never knew about the tattoos, so when I got my dogs,
I didn't know that either.
Right, I got my dogs back after that, and I noticed like the little green line. I thought it was like surgical markings or something.
No.
And I kept scrubbing their poor bellies over and over. I'm like, I can't get this
You're like, it won't
off.
come off. No, that's awesome. So I did know, obviously, we talked about the cat ears. I knew about
Yeah.
that just because of the personal experience, but that's neat to know that they are kind of marking them.
Right.
Easy way for them to be able to see. Also, just in terms of information and you guys getting out there, it was fantastic
Right.
to have Kristin on and be able to kind of really go through everything that they're doing, that Snips has done, Chris, yourself included.
Right.
Kristin, obviously, 150. And we say the term 150, but really it's quite a bit more than that if you really take in kind of the indirect effect as well.
Think about that number for a minute. I don't think I have a hard time fathoming it. I hear 150, I'm like, oh, that's a lot, But I equate it in the dollar sense, $150 or whatever.
Right.
150 dogs, right?
Hey, what's
That's
happening,
so
guys?
crazy. We got our next guest
Austin,
walking in here.
Welcome. You're good. You're good. How you doing?
Hey,
Doing well, how are y'all?
doing well, man. Have a seat, make yourself comfortable. We're just
Ready?
our last guest that was just here. Don't know if you were able to hear or not, but she's fostered over 150 dogs
Oh, that's incredible.
personally and helped
Absolutely.
find homes. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, we were talking about Snips. So she runs, or not, doesn't run, but she's very heavily involved with this organization. They have an event coming up. So she personally, I know you guys are real big into dogs.
Oh, absolutely.
She's actually fostered over 150. And she is out here promoting the race for the rescue that we're going to have Saturday. So hopefully you guys can make it out. It'd be awesome. But without any further ado, I want to introduce Austen Kernodle over here. So Austen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I just finished grad school. I think that's probably the biggest thing that's happening right now.
Congrats.
Yeah, congratulations.
I went to Princeton. It was a 3-year program.
Well, hold on. Before Princeton, where did you go?
I went to A&M.
You went to where?
What?
A&M.
Woo! So it's apparently it's Aggie night. So
Okay.
Kristin went to A&M as well. So
Okay.
You're in good company.
Great.
Very much. She actually, it was funny because she wanted to be a vet, but ended up being a mortgage broker. But this, doing the rescue for the race and things like that helped kind of tie it all in for her.
Very nice, very nice. And other than that, just chill.
Well,
Do
so-
architecture.
I like how we just scratched over Princeton.
I was literally just
like,
gonna say
that ain't shit.
So
Like,
other than
come
that,
on.
okay. So what's
You
other
know,
than that,
Hey,
man?
I just finished Princeton and just doing my thing. Like what?
That's how it is, man. That's how it is. You
I-
gotta just.
I dropped out of
Relax.
Tarrant County Community College, bro. Like it was too hard. Like
And hey, you have an education.
so what?
It's an education,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I got more withdrawals than I do finished credit hours. But
That's
that's all
hilarious.
right.
Hey, so Austin, I mean, obviously Princeton, remarkable man. A&M, remarkable, right? Being able to go through and graduate as an architect. What drew you there? When you were a kid, did you know you wanted to be an architect?
Honestly, no. A lot of it. I mean, I think the biggest thing about like high school kids that are about to they're encroaching upon that time where it's like, hey, make a decision on your life right now.
Know what's going to happen for the rest of your life
Yeah, exactly.
right now.
At
I think-
16.
Yeah, we've
I
got
think-
this counselor over here that'll help you determine that as well.
I think
Okay.
you should remove all trepidation when trying to make that decision because it's really not that big of a deal. I think as long as you're taking a next step, relax, breathe.
Right.
Because honestly, I just almost flipped a coin between like engineering and architecture. My grandma kind of was like, I think you should be an architect. My mom was kind of like, And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try it. Worst case scenario, I'll switch to engineering.
Yeah, but
Right.
those are kind of similar veins, right? You're
Yeah.
still creative, still introducing obviously mathematical components, kind of getting that, I forget what side, the right or the left side, that's the creative of your
I
brain.
think it's
Right.
left.
Is it the
Don't
left?
quote me.
Yeah,
Well, it
whatever.
depends.
So
Like,
getting that one creative side going, right, while still kind of bringing in the other side to complement, because when you're building a building or engineering or designing any kind of structure, you can't just be all willy-nilly like, hey, this looks cool, hopefully it stands.
No,
you know what I mean?
There always has to be like a certain amount of embedded logic, but a lot of my decision wasn't based on any of what I really liked doing. It was like I know I absolutely cannot do English.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to be a historian.
Slow process of elimination.
I was like, I would be miserable. So for me, it was like, what will I do on a day-to-day basis that I could actually enjoy and be happy? And that was like one of the biggest things about sticking with architecture because,
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of maybe prestige in the title, but there's not a lot of compensation. So it's like, you better do something you love. And if you love it, then it's like, hey, all right, I'm cool.
That's a great point, man. And Kristin mentioned that as well when she first started, right? Like you got to kind of pay your dues, if you will. You kind of got to get in and work. But I imagine when you get to a certain level of architecture, depending on what you're out there designing, that paycheck probably increases accordingly. I would imagine, huh?
There's an exponential curve, and you can ride that as you please.
Yeah. All right. I like that.
Yeah.
So how long have you've been out? You graduated when?
I graduated this June.
Okay. So you've been in the workforce since what?
July.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's the biggest kind of aha moment that you saw that's coming from transitioning from a graduate program at an Ivy League university into the actual real world kind of work life?
I think for me, the biggest, like, oh, okay, this is how it works, is like the immense amount of pressure was sort of relieved. Like the amount of deadlines you face in a 12-week work or a 12-week school program is like way more than a normal 12 weeks in an office.
In an actual environment, you've got like one project that you got to get a phase done on.
Yeah.
In school, you've got to like design 8 new things or whatever.
Here, I need a 20-page paper on Foucault, and then I'm gonna need the first pass at this building, and also I need to find out about this class and that class, and you're just like, all right, great. I guess I'll just never sleep. But I always did.
You always found a way.
Yeah.
Nice, that's funny. So what projects are you working on? You mentioned you're doing a lot of, did you say multifamily units, stuff like that?
Multifamily, a couple of like infill projects, a couple of adaptive reuse projects where you take an old warehouse, see if you can fit apartments in them. I sort of right now I'm on the front end, so sort of schematic design. What can we do? Can we figure it out? And I haven't had so much back-end experience with like construction documents or site management, anything like that.
Would you say you're a math guy? Do you enjoy the math side of it, or do you more enjoy the creative element of it?
Okay, so I loved math in high school and even college. Like I took calculus.
That's past tense. Caught that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely past tense because, I mean, it's like any muscle. If you don't really exercise it, you sort of lose the nuances.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no way I'm going to find a derivative of anything currently, but the creative side of it is what really drives me and what I'm really passionate about.
Yeah. Would you call yourself an artist?
No.
No?
I think, no, because the issue with architecture is there's always has to be some sort of logical decision making. So I think, let me restart.
Please.
I think it depends on your design philosophy.
Okay.
So this is you, correct? Let me see. Once it loads.
This
these
is
some of
my
your
undergrad.
designs?
Yeah, this is my undergrad.
So, well, hey, if it loads, right? So some of these pictures here, I mean,
Someone pay the internet bill, please.
yo, that's Spectrum. Shout out. Come on, guys. You're better than this. PJ, flip through here a little bit for me, bud.
You don't mind that we have this up, do you?
No,
Yeah,
that's fine.
So this is
Hey, if you need
speaking of online courses,
Online courses.
they're out there
Hallmark-
listening. Can you?
Hallmark University, however, go to Princeton and be somebody.
So this looks super artistic. So you don't consider that art?
No, because I'm not making decisions on pure aesthetics. So the other issue behind that okay, like let's just take philosophy and take the 3 basic forms of philosophy. You got like value, which I would put aesthetics and ethics in. So like if you care purely about form or art, then
That's your value. Yeah, sure.
And if you care about like, oh, I'm just going to help people, then maybe you're just ethics. But you also have like epistemology, which is like, what do you know and how do you know it? Which is like, so if you're asking like a serious question about architecture, like what is architecture, or how do I know that that's architecture and that isn't, maybe you're in that realm. And then you also have like metaphysics, which is like about being and experience and ontology, phenomenology, all
Kind
of
of
that.
all encompassing.
I'm getting wrinkles on my brain here. I'm learning.
So basically, let's just go where I like to consider myself, and we'll argue at that.
Okay.
I like to consider myself more of a phenomenologist. The issue with that is you cannot make decisions based on experience because that comes with this individual's consciousness, right?
Right. So everybody's individual experience is going to be
Correct.
different. So the way that we're all experiencing even this room right now is based on that individual's perspective. It's not, you can't paint a roadmap for everybody to experience it the same way.
So
So you
the
have
idea
to
of the
create-
6-9 thing, 6, I see a 6, you're standing on the other side, you see a
Correct,
9, we're both
correct.
right. Right.
So you have to create sort of an internal logic to then make decisions because you can't just be like, oh, I want a big room and I want a compressive section. I want to walk in and, you can't do that because it's like, okay, maybe that's compressive for me and it's not for you, right? So I always find myself trying to force a logic onto something, or not force it, but I need to create a game and play it in order to have a logic decision-making apparatus so that it's not an arbitrary move at the end. And
So it's kind of like your own test, so to speak. Like, does it pass these metrics in order to be able to meet the needs or not meet the needs? And am I just kind of thinking of it from a different perspective?
Yeah, exactly. But the difference there is that I will allow myself to break the test if I think the experiential necessity of the project outweighs the test I just created for myself.
So, like, give me an example of that. What do you mean? So, like,
So-
if it outweighs it.
So, like, let's say the test or the game that I'm playing is like I have a pure cube, and I'm going to divide it into 27 pieces, right? And I'm only allowed to break and move those 27 pieces. If I decide that I come in and I rotate them and I get them together and the program works and everything works, but I realize that the entry just is not a good experience. Like it's facing the sun, it sucks. I'll say, okay, I'm going to add 1 cube to make sure that this is a good experience. You see what I'm saying? Where I'll break the logic in order to like give a much better experience to the builder.
But it doesn't break the whole everything. You still got that cube. You're just
Correct.
adding an additional
There's a
component
framework. There's a framework.
I see what
but
you're saying,
I break
yeah.
the rule when I see necessary. So I think the difference of those two types of architecture, like the pure logic and the pure feeling, is that in one instance, the sort of substance of what the architecture is producing, what the architect produces is not the building, right?
Right.
I think in one instance, you're producing the experience, and in the other, you're producing a logic. And I think one is more egotistical. Because if you're producing a logic that's like, this is my world, and then you go and you just experience it, I think that's bullshit.
For lack of a better term.
That's such a cool concept to me because I've always associated logic as more of a factual based thought process, but the way you're explaining it is logic is tied directly to emotion and that ego is an emotional driven thought.
I think you can use logic as a tool.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think you can use it and apply it to basically anything, but it can be by itself a separate discipline. You could just say, if A is B, then B must be, that.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you could apply it to anything. Yeah. It's a tool.
At what age were you when you realized I'm kind of a genius?
when
Never.
did that happen?
I mean, you sure? Because like we've had 2 really smart guests on so far. Like Kristin.
I mean, I've been here. Oh no, my bad. You're talking about somebody else.
I mean, look. When you're in my shoes, everybody's fucking smart.
I love Chris. No, but
I think if you walk around with an attitude that you're really smart, then you don't see the genius in everyone else.
I was just gonna say too. I think like somebody like you walk around and you always want to learn, right? You're always looking for you to, you don't have that perspective of like, oh, I'm a genius, I know it all, I'm good. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, how do I continue to grow? How do I continue to learn?
There's an interesting sort of nuance about the term genius is that like at some point in time when we made universities, it began as genius was like talent. That's the way they used it. That guy has genius, that girl has genius. And
It's like a trait to describe.
We switched to you are a genius. So it was a trait. You may have genius. It just might not be as much as someone else.
That's a great like beauty. Like you have beauty. But it may not be as much as somebody else from their perspective.
Sure. Yeah.
Or from whatever that case may be, right?
I traded my genius for beauty.
You got a bad deal, bro. You better call
How
them.
y'all doing?
They got refunds on
It seems
those.
to me that you got a license to kind of balance that logic and that feeling, right? That emotion between what you make. And that's really kind of the beauty of it, right? Of how you do your work.
Yeah, and actually is exactly how I do work because it's not at all how every architect works. And if I were in school, we would have a huge 4-hour discussion about how I was wrong and how someone else might be right. And then we would go back and forth, and that was 3 years of my life just trying to figure out how to even talk about what you think. You know what I mean? How do you-
So it very much is a philosophical debate. I mean, you're
Absolutely.
literally there having these kinds of dialogues and conversations
Yeah.
with your classmates to determine or kind of put some sort of context around what architecture is, where it should be. Does it form purely for logic, or does it have this aesthetic value as well?
I think it also depends on like the project. So what are you trying to achieve? It was just like okay, so maybe I shouldn't bring this up out of context, but we were earlier speaking about the Blur building by Diller, Scofidio, Renfro.
Okay.
And so basically that project began with one simple question. It was like, can I make an architecture of nothing? Right? And what does that mean? And they came up with this
So
idea that was
explain
like
what
Yeah.
the Blur building is to people
Sure.
that don't know.
Okay, so
PJ, well, when it connects, yeah, PJ's
So-
got it.
the Blur building is basically this structure, and it emits like this mist. And the idea is that it becomes this blur where you can't really deceive it. You just have to walk through it and experience it. And it's obviously never the same at any one moment.
So nobody ever has the same perspective of the building as anybody else. So the building is always changing.
And they're trying to say it's nothing because it's there, then it's not. But the argument is like, okay, sure, yes. But also, there's like very clearly something
Yeah,
that you can
sure.
document.
I got you, but like I
So-
can literally see the structure that's underlying it.
And then the other issue is like, okay, is it a blur? Because white fluffy things are clouds. Like I remember another one of my professors. So she taught thesis, and it was her, Elizabeth Diller, and Sylvia Lavin. And Sylvia Lavin goes, is it really a blur because white fluffy things are clouds?
Yeah,
And
it's the cloud building.
And then Liz goes, I'm not going to walk into that one.
Now-
I mean, isn't it like science? Aren't we always adding like new rules? And as we discover things and make new norms, right? Like it's new to us. So just because it's different doesn't necessarily mean it's not there or it's not tangible or even feasible or part of what we're gonna do.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. And that's why in architecture school, the precedent is like where you start. So the first design studio you get, they say, okay, we're going to build a office building. And so what you don't go do is you don't go, okay, here's my office building. You go look at, 100
Other office buildings. Yep.
and understand, okay. And then once you build like a repertoire of like architectural projects that those things are, embedded in everything you do. Every single line you draw on that paper has that knowledge in it, and that's why I
That's freaking
personally like analog versus digital. You know what I mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
So when I'm designing, I barely touch the computer until
So
I'm
you're
like
literally
producing.
you're drawing?
Yeah,
Cool.
I like to draw, and that's because I personally think that there's a connection between your hand and mind that you don't get when you're using the computer. So if I draw a square, my brain says go up, go right, go down, go left.
Millennials' heads are exploding. Right now.
Literally, bro.
I
And you just
hey, I was just gonna say, hey, in their defense, my head's exploding right now too. So whatever.
I'm over here wondering like how that building exists because I thought Will Smith shot it down on Independence Day.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
thought
I
we
mean?
already
Like-
handled that.
That's what, yeah. And now I got these aliens coming back and they're clouds now and shit. And I'm like, hold on,
Hey,
look at that. It's just-
yeah, but I see Austin's point as well, where it's like, yeah, I get it. The building produces and emits this fog, this blur, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, there's still a structure
Yeah.
that
Right.
exists that's underlying.
Yeah.
Right.
The architecture is the architecture. The architecture is not nothing.
I liked what you said, though. I mean, to me, I thought that was super poignant, and I thought it was really important that, once you gain that knowledge, every line on that paper is embedded with that knowledge, right? And so, like, you can't really, what we were talking about earlier, right? Like, you can't really be at that level where you're building these colossal, magnificent buildings without having all of that knowledge
Absolutely.
to lead up to that. That's freaking phenomenal. So what I think we were looking at earlier, a project you did at Princeton with a garden. Do you have that up, PJ? With some didn't you build some unique
Yeah, so I had to build a shed for a urban farm in Newark, New Jersey, and basically the brief was.
Oh yeah, there you go, PJ, the middle tab.
The
Yep.
brief was kind of do what you want. so that was a nice launching point. But I worked with a couple of other grad students, and I kind of took it as like, how would I run my first studio? So I just kind of like questioned them, like, well, what do you think it needs to be? And I just kind of sat back as like, okay, let me use this as like a pedagogical device. Like, how would I teach?
You literally pulled a you the Catch Me When You Can. You know what I'm talking about? Where he's like, he's in surgery. He's like, I don't know, doctor. What do you think? And the doctor's like, well, I think it's a fractured tibula. Or I don't know, making that up. And the Leonardo DiCaprio's like, I concur. And he walks off, and then the other doctor's like, damn it, I should have concurred. You know,
And so they kind of brainstormed and they came up. They're like, okay, we want to do something, you know, to help this urban farm or whatnot. But they wanted it to do like sort of two purposes, because the main thing was they needed help planting and moving around this site, but they also needed help storing things. So the idea was like, okay, we're going to make a module that moves. We called them the Wandering Twins. And the idea was that when they're in,
That's a heavy name. Like,
so these two.
yeah, exactly,
Okay.
these two modules. And the idea was that there was two ways that you could use them. One in closed composition. I don't know. Is there any more photos of it?
Let's see. I'm not sure.
no,
okay.
Latest stories we're not.
But you can interlock them. They're two L's. When you interlock them, you can chain them together, and the interior spaces, these could become storage.
Oh, that's cool.
But the exterior is still usable. So you could pull this table down, still be potting, but have your tools locked away.
Wow.
And then when everyone
okay.
comes to the farm, you could break them off. And because they dealt with like small groups of kids, you know, 8 to 10, you could take a group of 4 to 5 one way and a group of 4 to 5 the other way. And then you could work in small pods rather than trying to control 10 kids. You can work with 4 more.
Oh, that's awesome. So you get to kind of divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Well, so
Exactly.
not only, so you're looking from so I mean, you're literally approaching this from multiple perspectives. So you're approaching it from a actual, you know, logistically feasible unit that can be used as storage, that can be used as a tool, and then also that is an education or educational element into dividing the classrooms to be able to teach them.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I mean, I think it went even further than that, because so we built it, obviously. We presented it last day of class. The professor's like, okay, I'm funding it. Now you got to build it. So it was an exercise in me, like, learning how to build it. It was an exercise in the other people investigating in architecture. I mean, they were like foreign policy major and another engineer, and they were like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
Right.
How are you thinking of these things?
Right.
And it's like, well, that's a discipline of itself, learning to think, right? But yeah, I think it was an incredible experience, and obviously I have to give a credit to like a ton of people for this, because like maybe I came up with.
That looks like a cool workshop too, man.
So this is
Where's that at?
This is the Embodied Computation Lab at Princeton University, and it was designed by the living.
Sorry. That's funny because I've been to the body decomposition farm before.
Embodied
He actually used to be a
computation.
detective,
Yeah,
so that's not a
so
weird joke.
it's-
That is true. He's unfortunately seen that.
Jacked up farm.
Yeah.
So you do not want to get your produce from there.
That is terrible. Hey man, so what? So
Bounce back from that
I'm
career.
also on a transition out of that. Speaking of urban farming, right? Like that's a huge trend right now in a lot of our. We talked, I think, the other day about New York and just how compact it is and how tight and everything's going vertical. PJ and I were out there about a month ago, 2 months ago now. I'm not sure. And we noticed. I mean, a lot of the rooftops now have little gardens in them. Actually, the entire roof of the Barclays Center is grass. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It looks like a hill in the middle of New Jersey. It's kind of weird, but
Take my helicopter over it next time I'm there.
yeah, for sure. We'll have to do a private tour. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I think that's so I think the reason we were so interested in that, and it was just like you said, it becomes so dense, but it's also that like some of these places have food deserts. Like it's super dense, but you don't have a, you know, well, we're very lucky to have HEB here, but
For
in
sure.
other places you don't even
Yeah.
have a grocery store for miles, you know, and you don't have cars. So what do?
So do you find that you draw upon like a muse to help you with this when you're approaching a project? Or, I mean, I know you talked about your style and playing the game and trying to be very objective in your creation. But do you draw any inspirations from anything?
I think you're constantly drawing. Like I think every single time you do something, you're drawing from like a ton of inspirations. I think your job as an architect is to be aware of them, aware of their pitfalls, and then to push against them to try to find an idiosyncratic solution that just isn't copy paste. Like not only do you have a obligation to do the job, you have an obligation to push the profession forward.
I'd be terrible at this job. I'm a copy and pasting
No,
fool over here.
Well,
like-
but you know what? So I think that
Yeah.
maybe you can relate to what I'm relating in my head, right? Obviously not to architecture, but it sounds a lot to me kind of like what we deal with like music, where like,
Yes.
I've heard these influences. Clearly, they influence my life. There's no way they can't.
That's a great
But
analogy.
when I create music, I want to use those influences, be aware of what's good about them, what's bad about them, but not copy and paste it, right?
Yeah.
Kind of create my own style, my own flair to it, but there's no way to get away from it, right? Like those are your influences, right?
Yeah.
You're going to hear a little Tupac in basically everything I do. I mean,
Hey.
that just is what it is,
Hey,
you know?
I'm so glad. So y'all are talking at about a steady 180 IQ level or something like that. Thanks
don't
for
know
bringing
about
it.
all
Thanks for bringing it down to the 90s.
Hey, negative 180.
I like the double meaning there.
You see that? So,
Austin, what are some of your artistic outlets? Like what music, paint?
So I used to be into music. I used to play the guitar in high school.
Nice.
Kind of just like taught myself. That was fun. Haven't played in a long time, but jujitsu.
Oh, hey, I'm back to the conversation. We
yeah,
talked
hey,
about something else.
tag me back in. No pun intended.
Hey, coach. Yes.
Hey, so
Do you
touch
train
on
local?
that. Yeah.
Well, I think for me, it's just that, like, this is going to sound really ridiculous, but if I can find a system, I can find the architecture in it, and then I can kind of be good at it. And that's
Wait,
why
the architect finding architecture in a system?
Well, but
Doesn't really
hold
sound
on.
very ridiculous.
I want to hear this
Yeah.
philosophy because as a BJJ practicer myself, right? I think you just clicked something in my head that everything is about strength and weaknesses within moves, holds, positions, and you're looking at it from the artistic, or not the artistic, but the architecture side of it, right? Where's the strongest joint, or where's the weakness in it, or something? Is that kind of where you're going with this?
I mean, yes, like the physical aspect, like the structural aspect of
Right.
it, I understand.
You're
But
talking
for
about like
me-
the architecture of a fight,
Yeah,
of like a match, how it lays out.
exactly. Like, okay, like, all right, maybe I'm gonna fake a little tired here. And then
Yeah.
I'm going, all right, I'm just going to let him smash me here. I'm going to let him smash me, and then he's
gonna
going to
relax,
think,
yeah.
And then I'm going to, okay, I got a bridge, and I have 3 escapes. And I know if he pushes here, I have 2 escapes. And if he pushes there, I have 1 escape. So it's like I create like that tree in my head, and that's the architecture. You see what I'm saying? I'm like,
Yeah.
and then
Like linking the different
Yeah.
options to give you
Yeah.
your end game or
chaining
whatever.
them. Yeah,
Yeah, chaining them,
That's
okay,
the
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
And so you're like filtering through them, this constant thing, and as you move, it's like that's out, this one, go.
Yeah, and the frustrating thing is, like, obviously I'm not that good to do that. So it's like when I hit a roadblock, I have to like rethink the chain. Like, all right, that's not working.
I
Well,
think it has to do with the, like, for those of you that haven't practiced Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's not like Taekwondo or the traditional sense that a lot of us are familiar with. There's 5 belts, right? You don't have a lot of steps to the top, right? White, blue,
Purple, brown, black.
right? So if you're a blue belt, you think you're a god because you're better than every white belt, and that's a majority of the class. But then you roll with the black belt, and I don't care who you are.
Yeah,
You can go through the this and this, that. Why didn't this work? This should have worked. I bridged perfect.
But that's when you get the chance to like reflect back on yourself, where you're like, all right, my bridge sucks. Like, he's shutting down that bridge. That bridge needs to be more crisp. Like,
I always reflect back of like, okay, so where am I? I'm waking up. Okay, I'm still alive.
tap out, brother. Tap out. Not worth it.
For those of y'all that do tune into the YouTube side of things, I will try to find. I have a video of me not tapping out and triangle choked clean out. I'll bring that for your
I
entertainment.
definitely need to see
And then
that.
I woke up and tried to grab the ref because I thought I blinked.
You literally. Yeah, hey,
Yeah.
Somebody else was telling us that story the other day. Somebody was like, "Nah, man, I was good. I didn't go anywhere." And they're like, "Yeah, you were gone. You were gone."
You're in a different dimension, bro.
Hey, so what's funny is we also had a gentleman by the name of Scott Summers in here, and you talk about kind of the chain and all of that, and it was funny because he talked about that as well. His was more of entertainment, right? It was wrestling, like WWE style. So, but he talked about how as you grow in your professionalism, he was showing us a Rob Van Dam clip. Where they literally, it's just kind of, what do they call it? Chain wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Like where they just go from move to move to move, and
Yeah.
it's all improv. They both know what they're doing, but it's not scripted, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like they have that ability to have the architecture and really be able to kind of like define that structure of the fight on the fly as they're going because they're experts. They know how to do that. You know what I mean?
One of my favorite quotes comes from one of the professors of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Mr. Gracie, where he's talking about, he says, to most fighters who haven't practiced, he goes, I'm a shark in the ocean, and you don't even know how to swim. And I approach most things that I'm unfamiliar with that same way, so that I don't have that ego. I check myself at the door, like I don't know how to swim, and I'm about to step into a shark tank. I don't know why I can't talk today.
Yeah. Hey, but for those of you that
Y'all start talking about
just as a quick
smart
reminder,
stuff, so I'll just push away.
what are sharks physically incapable of doing, Chris?
Running.
That's right. All right. Just in case you guys forgot.
And guess
We'll
what?
throw back to episode 3.
Guess what I'm gonna be doing? Not this Saturday, but next. What sharks can't? Running 5K.
That's right. Race for the rescue.
Isn't there that one fish that like developed the
Look,
ability to walk?
look. Hold on.
That's
Maybe
the missing
evolution.
link. That's the missing
Maybe
link.
maybe
Yes.
evolution.
This
The sharks are
conversation
gonna
is
be
going
running
somewhere
soon,
weird.
man.
No, I'm just kidding.
Then for a minute there, we're both like, God damn it, say something really smart, really funny.
Neither of us had it.
And
Whatever.
then we just
Hey,
kind of looked at
thanks
each
for
other.
tuning in, guys.
Hey, that's a no.
No, that's freaking funny. Hey, man. So, what do you have here? I see you brought a book with you.
Yeah, this is just basically it's a book. I would say it's probably more on the experiential side of it, but it's by a lady. She taught at the GSD, which is the Graduate School of Design at Harvard. And
Do you mind if I hold it up?
oh, absolutely. It's called Welcome to Your World: How the Built Environment Shapes Our Lives. And honestly, like it's just a real simple, easy, deep dive into, how some architects kind of think. And I think it will dramatically change how you're kind of walking through the world, because she goes through light, she goes through vegetation, she goes through different types of materiality, and how sort of sensorial input is devoid in a lot of architecture that we do. Like, we don't care about how buildings sound or smell anymore, and we walk through most buildings like not touching things, when really we should be touching everything. Like every time you touch the building, you're shaking its hand, and you need to like really investigate the spaces that you're in, rather than just sort of accept like, oh, okay, I'm in here. Like, there's a lot of mental health things that are associated to poor spaces, and yet they're so ubiquitous.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, like, I truly want to make a special, like we did the after hours. We're going to start having these in the future or whatever. I just want to give this guy a microphone and
Let him roll with it.
Stay out of the way.
Yeah.
Here's your platform. Just talk. And I'm going to be like this the whole time.
Beautiful.
I'll bring my portal gun and we can do that.
Wait. You got a real one? Hold on. Is that thing real?
You got it.
I think after about 20 minutes, you'll be like, all right, dude, simmer down.
Take it easy.
Get this guy another beer.
I can attest. No, I'm just kidding.
Hear me?
No, man. What's funny is you mentioned the kind of environmental design, or I don't know what the right term is, but if you look at a lot of the top, particularly in the retail space, right? A lot of the top companies in the world and the people that are most successful, they're placing more emphasis on experience and environmental design than ever before, right? You think of any of these, Apple Store, right? You look at what AT&T in terms of their experience and what it looks like. You look at like a hotel like the Pearl, the Hotel Emma, right? Where literally you talked earlier about sound and smell. I mean, they have sound masking and speakers in certain locations, and then they have scents in other locations that make you feel a certain way, right? And then on the wall, anywhere from their signage to the way that the structure is created, it's all designed to give you that feel, to give you that experience. And I think that a lot of people are starting to recognize the value behind that versus just, what do they call that new construction, the tilt wall?
Yeah,
Let me just put up some walls and call it a day, 4 squares, and get out of the way. Where we saw a lot of that, like especially in shopping centers. A lot of, to your point about the MDUs, a lot of them are being built in a very similar style, right? Kind of with that. So that's neat to hear that, or to see that people are kind of swinging back towards that experiential feel.
Well, I think a couple of points that you just made. One, we can look at a really cool concrete tilt building by Stephen Hull.
Pull that up.
It's a chapel. The other one is, what I don't think people really understand.
Is it Stephen Hull?
Stephen, yeah,
STEV?
Stephen Hull, Holl. Stephen Hull. Oh, you passed it. There we go. Beautiful. So this is a way you could get something pretty decent architecturally with tilt-up construction.
Wow,
And
that's crazy.
his sort of idea behind this was that there were 7 bottles in a box. And each bottle had a different color, so that's the colors that are washing these walls of the interior.
Oh yeah, I can see that. You're different. You're blue. Oh yeah. There you go.
He does watercolors a lot. And I remember one of my friends went and interviewed him with a couple of other architects. I can't remember who it was, and he asked him like, "Do you do you see yourself as part of the watercolor culture? And he's like, dude, it's just what I can fit in my pocket, and water is everywhere.
That's awesome.
That's-
Very practical, right? Like
Wow.
hey, I'm just out here trying to do. And so for those of you guys that aren't familiar with tilt wall and kind of what we're talking about, it's the, I don't know if predominant, but it's a very popular form of construction these days, where they just build these huge concrete walls and they literally tilt them up, right? It's most of your storage facilities, your kind of big box stores, all of the kind of stuff that you guys. You ever driven by a construction site and there's not a building there yesterday and there's a building there today? That's a tilt wall construction,
Well,
right?
the efficiency of it is kind of cool. Is that if you build and engineer the slab really well, it's perfectly flat and level. Then you pour your walls on that and then tilt them up.
And then you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep on course, but change it a little bit here. Is there, and you may not want to answer this, but is there a popular architect throughout history or maybe current that's kind of you feel is fraud-esque? And what I mean by that is music side of things, right? Because that's more my realm. Carl Orff is said to have been kind of a fraud in the classical sense, where he made that O Fortuna, and people love it. And most of those that are truly in the classical thing, they're like, look, he's just making a very simplistic song that people like. Is there some architect out there, maybe living, not living, that you find that with? Like, look, his stuff is great, yes, but it's simplistic, and I don't understand why he gets so much, or she gets so much notoriety.
Well, I would reject the notion of like being simple as.
I was just going to say, an architect, you would think that'd be like a valuable thing, right?
It's super hard to distill something down to like an essence. In fact, a lot of people make practices on like, how can I distill this to its essence? But I would say if there's somebody that is easily pointed out as a fraud, it's just the low hanging fruit. It would be like a Philip Johnson who actively just says like, oh, I copy everybody, and he there's a famous saying by Mies van der Rohe.
At least he says it, right?
It's like, look, this ain't my idea, but I'm getting paid.
I work smarter, not harder. Whatever.
There's
Philip Johnson, PJ, will you pull that up?
And then there's a famous saying by Mies van der Rohe, which is less is more. Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
And then another person comes along and says less is a bore, and then he comes along and says I'm a whore.
So, hey, getting the rhymes going however
Yeah.
you can, right?
Oh, but back.
Oh, is that like the Glass House, Philip Johnson
Yeah.
buildings?
So this is like right after Mies van der Rohe did it, and it's like, yeah, okay. You did-
Look at
did your thing.
those glasses.
Dude, architects have famous glasses.
A little bit
Yo.
eccentric.
Go to
Famous glasses, right?
Famous,
Le
like,
Corbusier, and don't ask me to spell it.
What's the name? What is it again?
L-E space L-E space C-O-R.
Oh, Cavassier, yeah. Oh, no.
Cavassier? Pass the Cavassier.
C-O-R.
PJ, I'm right there with you, bro. PJ and I are.
There we go, right
Look,
here.
look,
Right
look. PJ, hold on. PJ and I are so mind blown right now that if you were to hear
Oh,
anything,
dang, okay.
if you were to hear
There we
anything,
go.
you
So
would hear.
this is where he got his glasses. And if you want to look at the architect where he got his glass house, we can do that too. But I think I proved my point. This
Right.
Yeah,
guy,
that's hilarious, man.
he's notorious for unapologetically copying. But
So on the flip side of that coin, who are people that you look up to, or who are people that are
I will.
leading the way, or
Oh man, I don't know who's leading the way, but an architect I absolutely love is Peter Zumthor, who definitely falls in.
can you give us any like
Yeah, is there a
John
John
Smith, like Peter Zumthor? Like, come on, man. Oh, there you go, Zumthor. All right.
You got that one try?
Oh, those are
That's
dope.
But he falls deeply into the category of like, I'm a phenomenologist, and if you listen to how he practices, he's just like, I want to walk through a garden, through a quiet space, I turn a corner, and it's like
It's literally all about the experience.
then you just look at the plan and you're like, you did your damn thing, but I don't know how you got there. Like,
He's kind of like the Bruce Lee of architects.
and
Like
I
he's
think
very.
he probably would consider himself an artist. I think
Nice.
that's a dangerous path, though, because you're not really held accountable for any of the decisions you make.
That's true. So, but I mean, he's obviously got to be at a certain level in his
That's
career where he can
cool.
do that, right?
Sure, that's 100% fair. I don't know exactly how he started. If he just like went up to his first client and was like, "This is how it's gonna be."
Yeah.
But I do remember listening to an interview by him, and they asked like, oh, aren't these accolades and prizes so grateful? And he's like, they're really, it's nice to get them, but the best thing that it does is that it allows me to just convince the client that I know
Literally,
what I'm
yeah,
doing.
absolutely. Yo, check out this list of stuff.
Yeah.
Just trust me on this
Yeah.
one. Please shut up. I got this. So from like famous architect standpoint, right? Like the only one I know is Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yeah.
You know, hey, no pun intended, right? But
You guys probably know Frank Gehry.
What does he have?
The Bilbao Museum, the Guggenheim in Bilbao.
Oh, okay. I've seen it.
Everyone's
And
he's
then
been on
who's
The
the one-
Simpsons. Like,
Who's the one that does the O Hotel and a couple other? I think he's a Spanish architect.
I'd have to see it.
I've seen him on a couple of things. But anyway, so like if you look at Frank Lloyd Wright, a
We're putting
lot of
PJ
his
to
stuff
work.
you could kind of argue is artistically expressed, right?
Well, he had this idea of like a holistic design, which is probably problematic because he had the idea that I'm going to design everything that I can. I'm going to design the windows and the doors and the furniture and
Which means if you ever break something, you better
It's
call
gonna
Frank
be-
Lloyd Wright.
yeah.
Because
Good.
you ain't going down to Home Depot to get a replacement.
But the issue with that is like, is it any less whole if you didn't design the chair?
Yeah, for sure. And
I
as an
don't know.
architect, is it really your place to be designing chairs? Like,
Well,
do you
that
not?
is a huge historical thing. Every great architect designed a chair.
That makes sense.
because-
Well, like the chair you were showing us earlier from the one guy.
Which
I saw the
Corp, yeah, that's one of the
pulled
famous
him up.
ones.
The chairs are right there.
Marcel Breuer designed a bunch of chairs. I mean, Frank Gehry designed chairs. Frank Lloyd Wright. I mean, everybody designed a chair. And simply because I think that's in their mind or people's minds, that's like the smallest scale of the building. Although we design handrails and everything, else,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's just like that's
And something that everybody experiences. Everybody
Yeah,
sits in a chair,
absolutely.
right? Like it's kind of unanimous. Everybody's got to do it at some point, right?
So let's take a left turn real quick.
sure.
Because we have this new idea of something that we want to get our fan base involved in, and it comes with a little backstory, and I want to see if you want to get going with it as well. So I had a listener. We got some listener feedback specifically to me. And he comes in, and he was like, hey, man, we love the show. It's doing great, and so forth. And then he comes at me, and I was like, yeah, me being a little narcissistic. I'm like, so how do I sound? My voice, literally my voice, because I know I sound dumb all the time. That's cool. I get that. But as long as I don't sound goofy and dumb, right? I'm not a
One or the
cartoon
other.
character. And he's like, well, I mean, you're kind of like a feminine Ray Romano. Wait, what? I'm a
Ray
feminine. He's
Romano?
like, yeah, you don't got
I
that
never
bass
thought
that Ray Romano
he was
goes,
like
but
an extraordinarily manly guy.
right. But apparently, I'm
So you could have just said you're like Ray Romano.
yeah, but I'm 3 rungs below. Okay, so I'm a little less manly
Yeah.
than Ray F and Romano.
You're like a feminine version
And I'm
of
like,
Ray
what is-
Romano.
What does that mean? He's like, well, I mean, you have like this eggshell, you should be smarter than you really are sound. That's my dad right there. That's
hilarious.
Hey, Papa.
So what's your segment? What's your points? What are you trying to say?
What we wanted to do is we figured that we're going to create the luau, right? We're going to roast each other.
Tell them what the
Right?
luau
And
is.
so what we want to do is we want to have listeners roast whatever, and we want your comments. We want you to go to the Instagram at the Hustlers Huddle, and we'll even make it easy for you. We'll throw little tidbits out and say, hashtag the luau or hashtag the Hustler Huddle roast, right?
And
we'll
you guys
develop
can
that.
limit it to just Whitwell. So
And-
whatever, I'm okay with that.
Bring it, but hey, the dumb guy's got the mean insults. Come on with it. I work the streets. Let's do this, right? But with that being said, I wanted to offer a Princeton grad, super smart person. If you want, take a shot. Right here. You got a roast on you?
Not really. You've
So
been a pretty
on the
nice.
spot.
On the
You've
spot,
been a
yeah.
pretty nice guy. I would say your dental work looks like you went to Britain, but other than that, like,
That's just something. Hold on. I'll be back.
Yeah, he'll be right back.
No,
This
I'll
is
be
so
right
proud.
back. I'll be
Hey,
right back.
also I like how the roast was in line with that feminism. Austin's like, no, you seem like a genuinely nice guy. I mean, you got real sweet ways about you. I mean, I can see
Very,
that.
very polite.
Yeah, so I'm assuming where our good friend Chris Whitwell is going is he's actually been very proud of his progress. If you think he went to a British doctor right now, before you would have thought he went to just get his teeth kicked in.
Papa's getting the British mouth fixed.
So
These are my braces.
he's been on the.
so it's a very temporary roast. I have to think about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, that was good. That was good.
That was actually spot on. He's like, hey, take your jagged teeth and shut your stupid mouth.
But you're
Okay.
really nice about it. You're
But
really
you're-
nice.
hey,
Then
but I
you get
don't-
that sweet side to you.
He's like, I don't even want to say this because you're kind of like a wounded dog right now.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, not to tie it back to the dogs, but we are doing Race for the Rescue.
We
The
are
Rescue
doing Race
Crews.
for the Rescue. Come hang out with Ray Romano and
Saturday?
Yeah.
Correa, right?
Hell yeah. Hey, so Austin, before we get you out of here, man, appreciate you coming by.
thanks
Obviously,
for
I know
having
it's late. I know you got a lot on your plate, man. Is there anything you'd like to let us know? Do you you have a page you want people to follow? Is there something you think people should keep an eye out for?
No page to follow. I can do like a final comment about.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
architecture.
Let's do it.
Love it.
If there's one thing I would tell anyone about architecture is that it's the interface of how we actually experience the world. It's not, oh, it's where we live in and it's where we work. No, it's how you live. It's how you work. It's how do you talk to your boss. Same way like your iPhone or Android is how you surf the internet. Architecture is how you live, and therefore it holds a lot of value, and you need to reevaluate how you're valuing that commodity, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's something that we all experience every single day.
Every
in
single day.
Every single thing that we do. You're absolutely
Food and
right.
architecture. The only things you can do every single. You go camping,
No.
you got to eat, and you got to build a tent.
I'll leave the architecture for somebody else.
Hey, he's right though. It is, when you look at it from that standpoint,
Yeah.
shelter is a necessity, right, on the human condition. So in order for us to live, we need food and architecture. I would also submit maybe water, so a little
Right.
hydration in there, and
And Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. Yeah, don't forget the Wi-Fi.
That's because that's the only. Let me look that up. Yeah, no, absolutely. It says here that that's the only knowledge I got.
Yeah, hey,
Is the Google.
So
Knowing how to get knowledge is still knowledge.
that is
Yeah.
absolutely it's where to find the resources and where to be able to find the answers.
You heard it here first. I'm a low-key genius.
Yeah, hey, you did hear it here first, and probably for the last time as well. But that's all right.
Dang it.
No, that's not
Now
good.
correct.
You're a very high key
Hashtag the luau.
genius. You have no bass in your voice.
Heck yeah. Well, Austin, man, we can't thank you enough, man. We're super excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks.
Really
Yeah.
appreciate that perspective. I think it makes complete sense, but it's definitely, for me at least, it's not something I think about every day. You know what I mean? So to be able to kind of look at it from that perspective, I know that next time I do approach it and look at it, I'm definitely going to experience it from that standpoint.
Good.
I
Great.
can't wait to re-listen to this and watch this just to figure out what the hell just happened.
Right.
Because I'm like still on. Okay, so wait, there's 3 different types.
You're
of,
like, hold on,
philosophy
just
like,
play
wait,
that
hold on.
back, bro. No, man, and one thing that obviously as we grow and we continue to build this network and our relationships, we definitely want to have people coming back. So hopefully we see you on again. Maybe next time we won't talk so much architecture and we can get into some other cool stuff. I'm sure you've
Oh,
got
absolutely.
plenty to discuss.
I thought we were gonna jump into wild animals.
Yeah,
or
we
something.
were, but then you got
but-
real
you know
interesting
what?
on the architect, man. So we just kept talking.
What's his name just came out with the movie? Rob Zombie just came out with the movie. 3 in Hell.
I haven't
yeah.
seen that.
I'm trying to see it.
No,
Yeah.
I haven't even seen I didn't know it was
I'm
out.
trying to see it.
Rob Zombie's always out here working. What do you got, PJ?
He's pretty dope. I'm
Yeah, he's
And
the
on
bee's
that,
knees.
final thoughts.
And so our facts of the day. If you're gonna
Okay.
take one thing away, Rob Zombie is dope.
I think PJ was talking about Austin. Austin's pretty dope.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah. Well, guys, thank you all so much again for joining us. Austin, thank you for being here with us
Thanks
on
for having
this,
me.
the 6th installment of the Hustlers Huddle. We hope you guys enjoy it. Hope to see you next time. Be sure to catch us out on Instagram at thehustlershuddle.com, Facebook, and on our YouTube channel at The Hustlers Huddle. Thanks, guys. The Hustlers Huddle. Thanks, guys. The Hustlers Huddle. Thanks, guys. The Hustlers Huddle.
On the moon. I'm on top. Check out the view. I'm on top. See how we do. I'm on top. I'm gonna get you feeling cool. Time to get up on the bus. I'm about to take your butt to school.